Okay, so today then, a direct proportion. As you can see, intermediate tier and higher tier. So for example then, y is directly proportional to x. When y equals 24, x equals 6, and find the value of y when x equals 7. Now for some of you, that might look like a lot of just random words and random letters. However, the key word here, directly proportional. We're in maths, we use a little symbol. It looks like a little fish. We're going to write that first. Y is directly proportional to x. There's my little fish symbol. When y is 24, x is 6. Now we're going to look at that part first before we do anything with this bottom sentence. Now this means when things are directly proportional, they are directly proportional by if x is doubled, then so is y. Okay, they are in direct proportion of each other. We need to find what we call a constant. Now, a constant, we're going to use the letter k. Now, what this means is y equals a constant multiplied by x. So all I've done, I have changed this little fish directly proportional symbol for equals k, and then obviously multiplied by the x here. Now I'm going to use this part here. When y equals 24, I'm going to do what we call substitution now. So I'm going to substitute the y for 24. So 24 equals k times x. Well, x is 6. Well, using my algebra skills now, I can work out by using the inverse operation. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So my constant is 4. Bear with me, we're now going to use this constant to find the value of y when x is 7. Now, it says here y is directly proportional, which is this part here, which equates to this part here. So this formula I'm going to use again. This time, I'm going to put some numbers in that I know, and I'm going to find the value of y. So we'll do that by following these steps. The constant is 4. Remember, there's a little time sign in here when I touch it. And x is 7, so it's 4 times 7, which is 28. So we use this part to find the constant. And then we use substitution to find the bottom bit. Okay, if you're unsure with substitution, have a look at a previous video. Hopefully that'll help you. So those keywords, directly proportional, is written like that. So looking at this one then, y is directly proportional to the square of x. So let's write that down first. Y is directly proportional to the square of x, which is x squared. Let's write it as a formula with a constant. So y equals k times x squared. When y is 24, but a substitution now, y is 24, x equals 2. And that's the constant multiplied by 2 squared. Well, 2 squared is 4, so let's do that step there. It's the constant times 4. Then, inverse operation, I can divide by 4, which makes the constant to be 6. So I've used this information to find my constant. Now that I've got my constant, I can now find the value of y when x is 4. So then I'm going to use this formula here, k times x squared. The k is 6, and we don't know what the y is, so y equals 6 times, well, x equals 4, so that's going to be 4 squared. Okay, well, 4 squared is 16, so it's 6 times 16. Well, 6 tens are 60, 6 sixes are 36, put them together to get 96. So my value of y when x is 4 is 96. So again, write out what it's telling me here was directly proportional to the square of x, write it as a formula, find my constant, and then substitution of the constant value and my x value, or the y value. It might give you the y value, and then you've got to do the inverse operations to find the x value. So be careful with the way it is written here. Okay, that next step up now. So h varies directly to the cube of c. Now, this is exactly the same as direct proportional. Okay, it's just a different way of saying it, so be careful. They're all set out pretty much the same way every time anyway, but this means exactly the same thing. So h is directly proportional to the cube of c, so c cubed. When h is 40, c is 2. Okay, so h equals constant of c cubed. H is 40. K we don't know just yet. Multiply that by 2 cubed. 2 cubed is 8, not 6. I know some of you thinking, oh, it's going to be 6. No, no. 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So 40 equals a constant multiplied by 8. Let's divide by 8 to find the constant. So my constant must be 5. It's 5 8 to 40. Now that I've got the constant, let's use this formula again. H equals constant times c cubed. This time, k is 5. C is also 5. Now we're going to work that out. Now, it's not 5 times 5 is 25, and then 25 cubed. Okay, be careful. It's bod maths. 5 cubed is 125. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Now I've got to work out 5 times 125, which is 625. So the answer to that final question, the value of h would be 625. Remember, write the formula, substitution to find the constant, use the constant to find the value of h. Now I've got one more. You'll notice they are increasing in difficulty every time. So this time, y is directly proportional to x, so the square root of x. So y is directly proportional to the square root of x. So let's write that as a formula. When y is 20, x is 4. So that's the constant times by the square root of x, which is 4. So I've substituted the y for 20 and the x for 4. Well, square root of 4 is 2, which if I use the inverse operation by dividing by 2, that makes the constant to 10. Let's use that. So let's use this formula again then. Find the value of x when y equals 8. So if y is 8, constant is 10, so that's 10 times root of x. Now that looks a lot different. We're still right, we use a substitution. We're now going to be dividing by 10. Okay, so we divide by 10, which makes 0.8. It's still right, just using different numbers. Equals the root of x. Now we don't want the root of x, we want x. So now the inverse of square root is squared. So if we square this here, we get x, and then 0.8 squared is 6.4. Now with these questions, some of these constants might be decimal constants. Okay, I've used the whole numbers with these here. However, be careful, even if you get a decimal, it's still right as long as you're following those steps. This one obviously is a very tricky one. where we had to be careful with the inverse of square root being squared. But remember, write out in mathematical terms what it's saying to you, convert to a formula, substitution, find the constant. Once you've got the constant, you can then use substitution again to find the value of the unknown asked in the question. Hope it helps.